Hi, welcome back to the 5th week of Common 2x. We are already at the halfway mark. Thank you for your continuous participation. Last week, we discussed the topics of scope and branching statements. As I mentioned, scope rules are important for name resolution and to limit the scope of variables so that changes made to one part of the program will not accidentally affect another parts. This is especially important when different teams are involved in developing different parts of a complex program. It is difficult to totally avoid the use of identifiers with the same name in different parts of the program by different programmers. Even in real life, you cannot force different cities not to use popular street names such as First Street and Second Avenue, or prevent students with the same name from enrolling in a course. Thank you for your enthusiastic participation in the follow-up discussion on multiple constructors in week 3. Before I proceed with this week's lecture, I want to briefly explain why both calls to the constructors resulted in errors. In the case of Q3, it is quite clear that the compiler cannot find a suitable constructor for the call with two double parameters, even with implicit or widening conversion. Therefore, the compiler reported the error, no suitable constructor find for week 3 quiz with two double parameters. In the case for Q4, it is a bit more tricky because if we consider each constructor independently, both of them can accept two in parameters by applying automatic conversion. However, when multiple candidate constructors can accept a particular list of arguments, the compiler will need to find a way to pick the best one. Otherwise, it will report an ambiguous invocation error. A constructor is considered better than another one if the types of its declared parameters are more specific to the calling parameters. Let me use an example to explain further what I mean. Here, the class scope2 is similar to what we had before, except that the first constructor is defined with two parameters of int types, the second constructor with two parameters of double types. In the call to the constructor here, we use an argument of int type for both parameters. It should be quite clear that both constructors can be used for this particular call to the constructor. But in this case, the first constructor is more suitable because the parameters match exactly. So if you compile the program, you see that there's no syntax error. When you run the program by invoking main, you see that 2 is the result being displayed. That is because the first constructor was used, and the result is to add up the two parameters. Let's comment out the first constructor to illustrate that the second constructor could also be used in this call. Again, there's no error. If you run the program again, you get a result of 0 because this constructor was called by taking the difference between the two parameters. So you can see that when multiple constructors can be used for a particular call, the one that is more specific to the calling parameter will be used. Hope that this further clarifies some of the issues related to multiple constructors. Let's begin this week's activities.